piles of money on a poker table, broadcasting live to the world. Careers and legacies at stake. Millions of people tune in to poker shows for the high stakes, intense drama, and iconic moments. But is it even real? Are these high rollers playing with actual money? And if so, could these games be cheated? Numerous scandals have rocked the poker world, and some viewers question if the games are legitimate. That's why today we're here to answer the question, are poker shows rigged? If you're a fan of poker, you're no stranger to watching people play for millions of dollars. We've seen it on ESPN, CBS Sports, Poker Go, and even just YouTube for years now. But have you ever stopped to wonder exactly what happens to make this show a reality? Aren't there problems with putting sensitive information like the 2 cards that you have out there into the world while you're gambling for such high stakes? Well, there certainly are issues, and they have popped up over the years. However, let's just break down exactly what happens in order to make this show a reality. It might surprise you to know that poker first started being shown in the late 1970s. CBS started by airing the final table of the World Series of Poker main event as an annual 1-hour show. Eventually, ESPN purchased the rights to make this content, but there was a major problem. There was no way to know what the players had. So while you could see some of the most iconic people in the world of poker gamble with tons of money on the line, you didn't know what they had, which made it a very difficult process to watch and enjoy because you didn't know what was going on until the cards were shown. Poker in TV aired in this fashion for a couple of decades until 1997 when a solution was born. The whole card cam. You probably remember seeing this in older footage. In fact, some shows today still incorporate a whole card cam because it's an interesting way of looking at the cards and gives it a bit of a different feel. But basically, players would show the camera what cards they had, and thus viewers at home could follow along with what players were doing in the moment. The whole card cam was patented by WSB bracelet winner Henry Orenstein and was first used in late night poker on TV, and then also on the inaugural Poker Million tournament in 2000, which boasted the attraction of a £1 million game. Yeah, like $1 million buy-in is something we're going to see happen. The whole card cam took poker to a new level where viewers could now watch along and know what was happening in real time. However, there were a few clear issues with the whole card cam idea. The first one being you had to build cameras into the tables, making these tables overly clunky and large and uncomfortable to play at. Also, if a player forgot to show their cards to the camera or didn't peel them up high enough, well, you wouldn't know what the player had. You also had to put this together in post, meaning it was difficult to do events with a live setting, but all of this was about to change with the invention of the RFID chip. Radio frequency identification, or RFID technology, was going to change the game completely when it came to poker shows. Rather than having to show the cards to a camera, instead, every card had a small chip inside of it. That chip uses electromagnetic fields to automatically identify and track tags attached to objects. Once your cards were placed inside the box that would read that chip, it would then send a signal to the show, letting the show know which card is which, and ending the need to have to show a camera what the cards are. This was a game changer for poker shows, making it much easier to know what players had and to be able to control the environment. Now, you might think, well, if each of these cards has a little chip in it, wouldn't it be really easy to cheat and read those chips? Actually, as surprising as it might be, the answer is it is not easy because these chips do not say 8 of clubs. They have a random string of numbers and letters, and that string has to be coded beforehand so that they know which chip is which. So if someone actually could read the chips, it would simply just show a string of numbers and letters, not the actual card itself. So as long as the cards are stored safely and you're not giving players a chance to do whatever they might want to cheat with those cards, it's actually very difficult for people to decipher those codes and know which card is which. Rarely does poker cheating happen in this fashion, although it's not impossible. Once the sensors read those cards, that information is then sent to a back room, a control center that decides what to do with that information. There are several different people in a studio that will decide how to transmit that information to you, the viewer at home. Typically speaking, you're going to have someone that inputs the actions the players take, someone that controls which camera looks at which, someone that controls the audio, and then someone that will control the overall system as well, that basically decides, just generally speaking, what's happening with the show. Now, there are a couple things here that are important to note. Some shows will have that information displayed in the back, and some will not. The difference, of course, being that if that information is masked, no one in the control center knows the cards the players have. If that information is shown openly, then there will be people in real time that know your cards. And that, my friends, can create some problems. At this point, you can either decide to show your show live, meaning there is a stream, so the information comes into the control room, a number of minutes is set to delay it, and then it goes out to the audience. Or you can simply just record that content and edit it up and produce episodes. We see plenty of both of those things. People having your cards in real time does create a liability issue, because in poker, if someone knows your cards in a game and then relays that information to your opponents while you're playing, you are, what's the term? Fucked. That's why at Lodge Card Club, my card room that I own, we are proud to say that no one has your cards until it goes out to the audience using a delay mechanism. So no one will know your cards until it airs on the show 30, 45 minutes later, protecting you, the player. If this is the type of show you'd want to come play on, please message Skull Mike. I'll put his information on the screen. Now, not all shows go through that precaution. And as you can imagine, with people having access to the whole card information in real time, there's a chance for some bad actors to take advantage of it. The most infamous of these cases was Mike Postle at Stone's Gambling Hall. It is important to note there was never a quote-unquote smoking gun proving that Mike Postle was cheating. However, we can infer using data that it was extremely likely. This is a graph showing win rates of different players compared to Pot Ripper, a cheater at Ultimate Bet, who could see all of the cards and use that to beat his opponents. Here you can see Mike Postle's win rate. Nice. I know what you're thinking. That's impossible. You're right. The Stone's Gambling Hall cheating allegations occurred between June 2018 and September 2019, with Mike Postle winning about $250,000 playing with blinds as low as 1, 3, and 2, 5. Postle was crushing these games using a very unorthodox style, nicknamed Crotch Theory Optimal, because the man would constantly stare into his groin while ultimately making the correct decision. Commentator Veronica Brill felt something was off and brought it up to the poker community. The community did some digging and found the following numbers. In 88 sessions, totaling 383 hours, he won $320,000 or 72,000 blinds. Assuming 25 hands per hour, that works out to 760 big blinds per 100 hands. Now, seems like some massive numbers, and let's give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit here. A lot of those streams had straddles going on, which means the blinds were actually bigger. So it's possible the number of blinds is something more like 20, 30, or 40,000 rather than 72,000. But however you want to dice it, it still makes the win rate hundreds of big blinds per 100. And back here on planet Earth, that is not possible. As the winnings continued to mount, questions began to swirl. What exactly was Mike Postle looking at in his crotch? And why did he focus on it so specifically before ultimately making the right decision time after time after time in any pot of reasonable size? While Mike Postle was never found guilty in a court of law, in the court of opinion, he certainly was found guilty. The poker community is more or less all in agreement that Mike Postle was cheating in these games. He has now essentially been blackballed by the community, even though he's popped up a few times over recent years. The question still does linger though. Will Mike ever come and tell the truth? Which is why we have an open challenge at Poker at the Lodge, the safest place to play poker. Come on down, Mike Postle. We'll foot the bill. And let's take it for a spin to see if you can match your 300 big blind per 100 win rate. We're happy to bankroll you for the challenge and see this in action because we all know what happened. After the Postle scandal, COVID slowed down the poker streaming world, But after the pandemic, more of these shows started to pop up. Most notably, Hustler Casino Live became the leader for having regular games at nosebleed stakes with huge names. However, on September 29th, 2022, Hustler Casino Live's show went a different direction when amateur player Robbi Jade Lou called down Garrett Adelstein with just jack high and a $269,000 pot. The hand was a wild one, with Robbi racing the turn with just jack high and Garrett jamming all in on a bluff with an open-ended straight flush draw. Robbi, now facing a decision for about $100,000, ultimately did decide to call it off with jack high and held, winning one of, if not the craziest high-stakes poker hands ever. Following the hand, Garrett and Robbi had an off-the-table conversation, which culminated in her deciding to give him back $135,000, an action that some say seems innocent, some say seems guilty, and some were upset that Garrett took the money. However you want to dice this up, this money was given back in one of the craziest hands we've ever seen. After this hand occurred, Hustler Casino Live, or HCL, launched an internal investigation. Days later, they revealed that an HCL employee named Brian Sagbasal was caught stealing $15,000 in chips from Robbi Jade Lou's stack after the stream had ended. After a long investigation, no hard evidence of cheating involving Robbi was found. Garrett Adelstein to this day still believes he was cheated and has never returned the money to Robbi. The poker community is still largely split on whether cheating actually happened, although I do feel the majority feels that it did. My personal opinion, I have eyes and a brain that works. To this day, Robbi still plays poker and has made a handful of live stream appearances since the incident. In both of these instances, the allegations were that people in the back were somehow feeding information to players live at the table so that they could know what they're doing. And that is a really important threat for players when you choose to play on a show. According to High Roll Poker, there have been several thousand players that have played on these shows. 3,400, I think, is the most recent number. So it's interesting to me that so many people decide to play on these shows where they could, of course, be vulnerable. That said, I have played some of the most hours of anyone on these shows, so who am I to say that people should not play on them? There are always ways to cheat in poker games. It doesn't have to be someone in the back relaying information. It could be an automatic shuffler where players could scan the cards and know which cards are going to come out. It could be players simply marking the cards so they know which cards are aces or tens or fives or whatever they want to mark. It could be players colluding together to cheat you by signaling at the table so that the other player knows what they had or didn't have. There are so many ways to cheat in poker, which is why it is important to keep your wits about you. And if you think you are not safe in a poker game, you're certainly better off deciding to not play at all. Those things said, it is funny in poker how many people think that everything is rigged. I lost a hand, must have been rigged. I see these comments on my videos. I'm talking to you, John. I'm talking to you. It seems like every time someone goes in a heater, it was rigged, falls in from the rafters. Sometimes people just go on heaters. As a critical thinker, you have to be able to decipher the difference between these things, which is why people tend to fall into one of two groups. Either they think everything is fair when it often isn't, or they think everything is rigged when it often isn't as well. Bringing this all home back to our original question, are poker shows rigged? Well, the answer is no, generally speaking. 99% of streams are not rigged, and you get to pick which show you play on, and you should do so carefully. Play places that you can trust to do a good job. Play places that have good security protocols. But all of those things said, certainly some streams are rigged, and if you don't know exactly who you're dealing with or what those people are up to in the back, it's probably time to play at another place. That's going to do it for me, guys. If you enjoyed this video, throw a like on it. Hit the subscribe button. We're making some content again lately. See you again soon. Peace.